It was a gift from the Chinese government to the African Union as a sign of their growing partnership. But there are questions here over why the headquarters of such an important African organisation is entirely the work of Chinese construction, labour and money.
The East or the West? Who is Africa's true friend? Well, the moment Africans realize that they really don't have a true friend, that will be a very redefining moment for Africa. Everybody is pursuing their selfish interests. What's up, good people? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In case this is your first time here, kindly consider subscribing and hit that bell so that you can always get notified whenever I'm posting. I'm your girl, the African Tigress, here to keep you posted with everything happening across the motherland or issues of interest for the motherland. Well, a very big shout out and thanks to everybody who supports this platform on PayPal and Patreon. You too can actually become part of my Patreon family for as low as $2 per month. Go ahead, let's do this. For the past couple of years, China has tried to create some sort of friendship with Africa and a lot of infrastructure. They've built a lot of infrastructure, a lot of buildings, roads and all that. I mean, I think every African country has seen the influence of China in their development. But how did this come to exist? I remember reading an article some time back on how China had gifted the African Union some very beautiful building. I have been to that building and I was like, whoa, this is actually a very good place. I've been to that building. It looks so nice, so sophisticated. And if you compare it with the former building that the African presidents used to use for their conferences at the AU, this is like, it has a class. It has a class of its own. So I read this article and I was like, you know what? Nobody gives you anything for free. Nothing. Nobody at all gives you anything for free. Well, maybe apart from myself who's giving you this free information. Anyway. Nobody gives you anything for free. So I went to research. Apparently, there was issues when this building was actually being launched and a lot of people raised eyebrows. There were especially international media, local media. They were like, well, African Union is a very important place for Africa. The whole of Africa presidents meet at the African Union and China must be having an interest in this. A lot of people who raised eyebrows or who raised concerns on this issue were actually dismissed and, well, China went ahead, gifted the building, and African presidents were obviously very excited about the gift that they had received from their friend China. Well, let me just share this clip so they can understand what I'm talking about.
This is symbolic of China's changing role in Africa. It not only wants to invest economically in the continent, but now also put money into important institutions like the African Union. China's top political advisor Jia Qinling and Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles Zenawi at the opening ceremony.
We will have German.
This swanky new building, the tallest in Addis Ababa, cost around $200 million. It was a gift from the Chinese government to the African Union as a sign of their growing partnership. But there are questions here over why the headquarters of such an important African organisation is entirely the work of Chinese construction, labour and money. One analyst told me Africa doesn't need China as much as it thinks.
Very symbolic building, hugely important and a huge statement, but this does not entirely define the relationship. Africa still needs Europe, it still needs the United States. China is important, the BRICS are important, but that will not define Africa's future. We need to use the terms of trade to improve our governance and to change the way in which Africa is developing.
Some of Africa's biggest leaders are now in place here for the summit. They have a new conference centre and will be choosing a new chairperson. the African Union has always argued for a bigger role on the world stage. It even wants a place on the UN Security Council. Now it has a powerful partner in China.
Well, fast forward, a couple of years later, people noticed or people realized that there is a lot of information that was being transferred to China. Every day, at the end of the day, leaders, politicians, ministers, or whatever, and everything that they had discussed during the day was being transferred to some place in China. And upon checking this, they actually noticed that there is something fishy about it. So they had to cut it off.
All right, moving on. 46 years ago, there was the Watergate scandal in the United States, which cost the then President Richard Nixon his job. He was implicated in the attempt to plant listening devices in the Democratic Party's National Committee in the Watergate building in Washington, D.C. Now, the latest bugging scandal involves the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, that the Chinese built in 2012. The French newspaper Le Monde quoted anonymous sources at the African Union headquarters as claiming that the following. One, that the Chinese had planted listening devices in desks and in the walls of the building. The devices picked up information of every kind from African officials. This information was then relayed to Shanghai late at night when the building was shut. And this had been going on for the last 5 years. Now, Le Monde quoted the officials as saying the microphones were discovered during a routine sweep. The devices were removed and the servers also changed. The report made headlines the day before the African Union summit opened on Monday, a point which the Chinese claimed was significant.
You will realize that it was during this time when this information was actually being transferred to China that we had a lot of Chinese moving to Africa, doing business in Africa. Like I said, if somebody has been listening to your conversation, if somebody knows where your need is, they are most likely to come and solve it. And you'd think like, oh, this person is heaven sent, This person knows exactly my pain. No wonder a number of African presidents went ahead bragging on how, okay, the West is not being good, so we can turn to the East. But when can we be self-sufficient? For how long do we have to rely either on the East or the West? What sacrifice does it have to take, or what do we really need to do as Africans to be self-sufficient or self-independent? I can't even say okay, fine, colonization and all that is gone, but I don't think we can say that we are fully independent. I just feel like we are suffering from some form of neocolonialism, because we can't make independent decisions. We can't do whatever we want as we want. The West or the East now, it's always been the West, but the West or the East has to dictate exactly how we do a number of things, what imports we allow in our country. I remember a time when my government, well, I'm not a politician. Well, I remember a time when the Kenyan government had banned some fish that was full of lead and some other toxic chemicals from getting into the country. And the Chinese ambassador actually said that we were being unfriendly, we were being hostile, by us stopping to take the contaminated fish, we are actually being hostile partners. And well, the ban had to be lifted and fish from China kept flowing, and a lot of people have done, a lot of investigation has been done, and it has been proved that this fish is actually dangerous. Well, I stopped taking fish. I don't take fish anymore because I don't know what fish is true fish. But a lot of investigation was done, and it was discovered that this fish was actually bad for human consumption. So who is really our friend? Nobody. Nobody is our friend. And African nations, we should stop trying to find friendships from other people. Can we be friends with each other? Can Uganda be friends with Nigeria, South Africa with Nigeria? Or can Ghana be friends with Tanzania? Can we find friendship among ourselves and try to solve issues that are bothering us or these problems that we face? If Sudan is facing this problem, can we go there to help them? Must we always rely on the West or the Eastern aid? Really, I believe as Africans we really need to do more and we really need to wake up. Well, I just shared a video with you. You just seen how China bagged the African Union building, and African leaders, I'm not even very sure if that was the only outlet. Probably there were more outlets, or maybe they just discovered one of the ways that they were getting the information, but there could be some more ways that they're getting the information that nobody probably knows about, or they haven't discovered about it. Maybe it will take another 10 years because this took almost 5 years for them to discover that it was actually, bagged. The system was bagged. Does your friend spy on you? No. But I also have to mention that while we are talking about China, we should also not forget that nobody is really our true friend. Everybody is pursuing their selfish interest. The East or the West, nobody is Africa's true friend. Let me know your thoughts and opinion about this, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so that we can, keep circulating these messages. So until next time, it's a bye-bye.